The numbers are out and the news is in. And here's exactly what's been happening in the Toronto real estate market for July of 2023. Toronto Real Estate by the Numbers is a video series I do every single month, breaking down Toronto real estate, looking at different types of properties, different types of sold statistics, and getting a sense of what's going on so I can best share that information with you. My name is Gabriele Battista from Homes into Reality. I'm a Toronto real estate agent who's really passionate about helping first-time buyers in the Toronto real estate market. So that's why we come out with these videos every single month with the idea of helping you buy that first home, make home ownership a realistic opportunity for you, and help you on that journey to get that first home. If you were a first-time buyer in Toronto, you can reach out to me. All my information is below, my phone number, my email, a link to book a call with me. We can touch base about making your future homeowner dreams a reality. Now, with all that out of the way, we'll get into the actual price points of different types of properties. We're always going to be talking about the median price point. And the reason being is, as a first-time buyer, we don't want to get skewed by the average price point of different properties. The luxury market tends to fluctuate a lot and will skew the average. So we always look at the median price point of different property types. So here are the numbers over here. We're looking at a median price point of a detached property at 1.33 million. We're looking at a median price point of a semi-detached home at 1.177 million. We're looking at a freehold townhouse being $1,096,000. We're looking at condo townhouses being $850,000 and condo apartments being $660,000. Now, some of those changes are pretty significant. Some of them more than others, but some of them are pretty significant. And we do want to analyze that a little bit deeper. First, we're going to look at the month-over-month changes, and that is from June 2023 to July of 2023, the most current up-to-date analysis we can have about the market. We look at detached homes. They're down 5.41%. Semi-detached homes are down 8.47%. Freehold townhouses are down 6.72%. Condo townhouses are up 1.55%. And condo apartments are down just under 3% at 2.94%. When we look at the current market, some properties are dropping more than others. Like we'll look at the freehold properties are dropping much more than, let's say, your condos or your condo townhouses, with condo townhouses actually being up. But you're negative in detached homes, at least 5% plus, and the highest being 8.5%. So there are major changes going on in that freehold market, it seems. Your condo market being a little bit more resilient, at least on a month-to-month basis, with condo towns even going up. We do also want to analyze Toronto real estate on a year-over-year basis. And that would be, in this situation, July of 2022 versus July of 2023. Because Toronto real estate is so seasonal, we have highs and lows, peaks in the market. Spring tends to be your highest point in the market, while winter tends to be your lowest point in the market. So we want to compare the property on a year-over-year basis so they're on the same playing field. When we look at detached homes, you're up 3.91%. For semi-detached homes, you're up 4.2%. For freehold townhouses, you're down 2.66%. For condo townhouses, you're up 4.04%. And for condo apartments, you're down 2.51%. These numbers on a year-to-year basis, it's kind of all over the place, so it's tough to give a really proper analysis on it. But what I will say is, from remembering the market last year, we did see prices fall very quickly in a very short time period. So for prices to be up year over year, that does make some sense, just because how quickly prices did fall last year. We saw increases earlier in the year, and we're still kind of, as you can see, month over month, we're declining a little bit slower than they were. Last year is falling so quickly. You see the graphs on a couple of the freeholds, the detached and the semis, how quickly prices really did fall on a very small, short basis. Well, right now we're falling fairly quickly, but not, we're still in the beginning of that stage where prices are falling. What's fairly impressive is, considering the higher interest rates that we are now versus this time last year, the fact that prices are actually comparable to where they were last year's is fairly, in my opinion, shocking. You would have thought that, just looking at the market in an isolated basis, last year being very low interest rates versus this year being extremely much higher interest rates, that would have a significant drop in year-over-year changes. But that just isn't the case because of that really big jump up we saw going in February, March, April, May of this year. You also want to look at a couple more examples over here. We use townhouses and condos over here. A lot of the gains that we did see in 2023 have been erased. So you'll see, for example, with the condos and the townhouses, we had, let's say in February, it was fairly flat. We had those numbers there. We saw a big spike up into May. And now that we're back in for July numbers, we're basically at the same level where we were in February. So it's interesting how in a 4-month period, we shot up in prices and then we shot back down to essentially what was always that middle ground, that normal point in February where prices were. Two statistics that I find really important when analyzing the Toronto real estate market is your new listings and your active listings. And to start with that, we'll look at our new listings. We're up new listing wise year over year, 16.51%. And if we throw up the graph over here on new listings, you'll see that we haven't seen a dramatic drop in new listings. As time goes on, usually with months, we will have listings drop off into the summer market. Not as many new listings will come onto the market. We haven't seen a dramatic drop in those new listings. But year over year, we're actually up. So it shows seasonality. We have a little bit more listings in the market. That could be because of a delayed spring. But there are more new listings on the market versus this time last year. Now moving on to active listings, you'll see over here, we're up just barely, about 3% up on active listings year over year. But when we see the trend line, when we look at active listings as well, that's our gray line going up. We've been seeing a fairly consistent month over month increase to active listings. So every single month, we do have more and more inventory hitting the market, and it's been very consistent all the way from April to July right now. So we're consistently seeing more and more properties hitting the market, currently with an all-time high of 2023. Where that number goes is really important because that's the properties that people are shopping for. That's all the competition currently on the market. Although some of it's a little bit older on the market versus newer on the market, it's really important to note the active listings. If there's more active listings than buyers, then it shows. Maybe it's a little more of a buyer's market. But the trend shows that active listings have been going up and are not transacting as quickly. And the number that complements that very well is your sold activity. And your sold activity is fairly obvious. The amount of properties that are selling in the real estate market every single month. And we're up from this time last year. We're up just over just under 3% we're up. So not by a huge margin when we look year over year. You'll see on the graph we pull up that it was a very slow summer for real estate. But the dramatic thing that I want to look at is the month over month change. And you'll see that from June to July, there's a significant drop off in solds. You're looking at June, we were just under 3,000. And in July, we're just under 2,000. So it's 1,000 new sold properties that are taken away from the market. And that maybe shows that we're just kind of, the busyness of the Toronto real estate market that we saw earlier is gone away. And we're now going to a little bit more of a steady market where there's not as much transacting going on. We had a lot of transactions early on compared to earlier months, but we're going to have a pretty small amount of transactions probably for the rest of the year. We'll also bring back the graph again. You'll see usually with the 2021 line and 2022 line, you'd see that the peaks in the market were in March and they would drop off and they would stay low for the rest of the year. We saw that peak in May, which is dramatically smaller, but that peak in May, we're probably not going to get to those same May transacting numbers for the rest of the year. If I would assume for the rest of the year, we probably aren't getting to those May numbers. Also, after months of the days on market number keep going down, we're finally seeing the days on market number trying to shoot up a little bit more. We're seeing an average of 18 days on the market versus last year, we're about 20 days on market. But in past months, we were kind of decreasing those days on market numbers. Now we're finally going back up. So it is taking properties longer to sell on the market versus the last few months. So I'll summarize my thoughts on the market overall because there's a couple of things that when I think of being a first-time buyer in Toronto that I want to look for, the trends that are most important. And for me, that is looking at the sold numbers versus the new listing numbers because that's really where it's going to show where our market's going, where our market currently is. So right now, the sold numbers really fell off a cliff. We were down 1,000 solds month over month, which is normal because of seasonality. But then you can tell the sold numbers are really dropping down, while your new listing numbers are significantly higher, and they are not going down as significantly. They're going down because of the seasonality of it, but they're not going down to the same pace. Much smaller. They're decreasing a much smaller amount. So you're having an X amount of new listings stay on the market, not sell, and contribute to your active inventory. So as long as the solds are much lower than your new listings, we're going to see the market either shift downwards or it may steady out, depending on how resilient home sellers are. So for me as a first-time buyer, if I'm looking at that, I want to watch those numbers because that tells me maybe where the future of the market's going, where some motivation may be, where competition for sellers may be. And it may give me some confidence the market may not be increasing anytime soon with those numbers. Of course, if those numbers change, we change with that. But as a first-time buyer, that's really important to know that prices probably are not shooting up anytime soon. Another thing to look at is we have seen significant drop-offs in price since that peak in May. And the important thing is we don't know where the market's going over the next month, 2 months, a year. We have no idea. And a lot of times with first-time buyers, I look at it a very particular way. I look at properties not purely on a investment / price perspective. You're looking at the property. You want the property to be a good fit for you. So if you're someone who is thinking of getting in the market soon in the next 6 months, I probably myself will be looking at the next 2 months, analyzing the market, at least seeing if there's some stability in price points. We don't need to see prices go back up or flatten, but we want to see where the market's going to see if these decreases keep coming or if we do see some stability. With that being said, it still isn't a bad time for a first-time buyer who's going to be living in that property looking long-term, in 5 years, 10 years. It's not a bad idea to still be looking at properties. And if that right property does come about, to jump on something like that. Because in the end, from a first-time buyer, I think we should be looking at properties in the perspective that this is where I want to live, this is what I want to live in, this is the type of home, this is the location of the home, all that type of stuff. Price is obviously important. We don't want to be buying at the peaks, but we definitely don't want to let a good property go if, for example, we can get it at a good deal. And these are the markets where we can get good deals because they're going downwards. We can get properties at prices that we think, in the end, are better than anything else in the market. Because there will be properties that are selling less than what comparables are. And we want to jump at those properties. So as a first-time buyer perspective, that's what I want to look at when comparing the markets of past months to current months to future months. I hope all of this information helps. And to summarize, the most important thing that we could be doing in the Toronto real estate market right now is just looking at the stats, looking at the news, looking at the trends, and making sure that we're on top of that real estate market. So whenever you are ready to make that first big move in Toronto, you can do so with confidence. We know what's going on in the market. You've had the time to spend, watch my very long, boring videos, but be educated and make sure you know what's going on. So that first big move is one with success. Anyways, my name is Gabriele Battista from Homes into Reality. I will see you next week with next week's video. Thank you so much for watching. Really do appreciate you guys. Take care.